talking about some techniques to help with streambed restoration. First, we're going to look at our slope right here. We have lots of invasive species, and so ultimately we want to have this a 3-to-1 slope so we can plant native grasses and help create that structure in the bank so it doesn't erode and cause sedimentation in our streams. So here we have an example of a slope that hasn't been touched yet. And so the first step we're going to do is we're going to clear all these invasives, all this greenery. So either by the roots as much as possible so that they don't come back, their rhizomes don't allow regrowth. And we're trying to remove this greenery with either machetes or clippers or even just our hands manually. And we'll create a green waste pile away from the stream so we can compost it and use it for future planting. So we're going to go ahead and start clearing some greenery. So we just finished clearing this small slope right here. We left some of the small weeds simply because it's hard to get, but the idea is that, you know, we're opening up so that we can see what the slope is like and how much we need to change the elevation to make sure that we have a 3-to-1 slope or as close to that as possible. So right now we've just finished clearing for the time being, and we're going to install an erosion sock down here near the stream to make sure that it doesn't touch the water and that it can capture any sediment that does come down as we start to move soil or from natural erosion processes. So we're going to collect an erosion sock and we're going to put it right here. We're going to dig a trench and we're going to stick the erosion sock in slightly beneath the soil with an overhang so we can capture any soil that does come down the slope. And we're going to tamp it in with recycled rebar. So we'll show that process in a little bit. So as we move soil, we want to make sure that none enters the stream. So that's why we're doing an erosion sock before any sort of land smoothing or soil disturbance. So we just dug a trench for our erosion sock. Our trench was about 6 inches wide by 4 inches deep. We're not trying to completely cover the erosion sock. We're just trying to create a nice little cubby hole for it to sit in. And the reason for this is it helps stabilize in case of flash flooding or just general rainfall. So we've just created our trench and we've gone ahead and laid our erosion sock out, trying to follow the natural curve of the stream as best as possible. You will find some problems working in stream bank restoration of there are lots of rocks in this project area. So trenching, you need to be patient and you need to work around the rocks as much as possible as we can't move rocks in the stream. So again, we're trying to use the erosion sock to create a natural little barrier for any soil that does ultimately come down from the slope, either through man-made causes or natural erosion. So we've laid out our erosion sock and we're going to install it now. So this is the recycled rebar I was talking about, and the best size to use is about 12 inches to 24 inches, just depending on your soil depth in the different areas. So for this one, we have pretty shallow soil, meaning there's lots of rocks that are going to impede us tamping in this erosion sock, so we have to use shorter rebar for this occasion. And we're going to push down the rebar as far as we possibly can go in the soil to just create that stabilization for the erosion sock so it doesn't wash away. So we're going to put about 4 recycled rebar pins in each erosion sock. You may need more depending if you're in a high water intensive area. For this, we don't have much flow, so we could get away with 3, but we use 4 just as an extra precaution in case there is any heavy rainfall. So again, here's my recycled rebar, and we're simply going to just place it and start to tamp it in. So we just finished installing our erosion sock. So now we're going to start smoothing out this slope so we can get a more even planting field. So we need to start at the top so we can utilize gravity to allow the soil to move down the slope and create a less steep slope, a better elevation for planting. So usually we have volunteers up here at the top and volunteers down at the bottom with 5-gallon buckets so they can collect the soil as it falls down. As you can see, we have some pukas, some holes here that we're going to try to fill in. So some tools that we can use to move the soil is naturally a shovel, as we all know, or this flat hoe works really, really well. You need to be mindful of any falling rocks and any volunteers below you, because you don't want to accidentally shift soil into their eyes or cause a mini soil falling down. and mini landslide. And so we're going to use our flat hoe and we're going to use our shovel and we're going to push the soil slowly down to create a better slope. So our field crew just started smoothing out this slope, moving soil from the top down to the bottom to create a better slope. But now we have all this loose soil. So what are we going to do to help stabilize the slope? Is we're going to use a tamper, which is this square heavy metal pole, and also our feet work as well. And what we're going to do, being mindful of our toes, we're going to tamp down this soil. It works best when it's slightly moist as opposed to bone dry soil as it is today, but we're going to try the best we can. So we're going to use the tamper, we're going to compact the soil. We're also going to use our feet, our natural weight, to just pack the soil down as well. Alright, so this is our jute matting. This is biodegradable matting that we use to stabilize slopes, especially for planting. So how our field crew measured this is we keep the roll at the top of the slope and we roll it down with an estimate of how long we want the jute matting to be. We haven't cut it just in case there's any errors in our measurement. And as we cut this, we're then going to staple it in, which we'll show you in a couple seconds. So again, jute matting helps stabilize the topsoil, all that loose soil that we just moved around after tamping it, and it will create a good structure for plants to grow. So we've cut our jute matting and we've laid it out, and we're going to stretch it out and staple it in using these staples. They're also called Sod Staples. We created a trench at the top to help use heavy materials at the top to stabilize the jute matting and just allow it to last a little bit longer. So again, we dug a trench just like we did for the erosion sock up here, and we utilized some existing wooden debris that's heavy to hold up the top of the jute matting, and also included staples underneath it to provide some more stabilization. So now our field crew is going to stretch this out and staple in using these Sod Staples along the bank as we slope down. With our staples or our Sod Staples. This was really easy. It allows soil depth, so we could just stick it down with our hands. Sometimes you may need to use a hammer if it's particularly rocky and you need to staple the jute matting into the bank. So we've just now stapled. I would estimate on this one we probably use about 20 to 25 staples to secure the entire slope. And now it's primed for planting. All you have to do once you have your plants, you just spread apart the jute matting where you want to put in the plant it, bring back the matting to create that structure, and make sure you plant the whole slope so we can help with the restoration of the stream bank.